Hi again. I'm still Mercedes. I have a blanket on me because I'm cold, and I don't really have like any other place to do this other than my living room floor. What I want to talk about is like what to expect when you get like heavily tattooed, because it's stuff that like I didn't really think about um, until years later down the line. It's stuff that like no one really told me about because like I live in a place where like it's not like a normal thing, I guess. So yeah, like let's get into that. Also, you're not gonna notice like a bunch of like editing and stuff in my videos. I don't know how to do that. That's very difficult. I don't get it. I don't have the time to do it unless somehow I become, you know, super huge and can like afford to pay somebody to edit my videos, like, do all those like music things or whatever, and then like, like cut it and edit it and like do stuff and like voiceovers and things. That's like really hard. I'm not tech savvy, especially for a 26-year-old. It just like doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, so I live in like a small town in Ohio that's like right on like the border of West Virginia, which is right on the border of Pennsylvania. We call this whole thing the Valley, and like a whole like hour radius. Anyway, it's like not like a normal thing here, so nobody really warned me about um a heavily tattooed lifestyle. So when I was a kid, I looked up to Kat Von D. I still do as an adult. She was like the main person that I watched on TV. I watched LA Ink a lot. I watched all the other stuff. She was in Miami Ink. I think at one point is where she started, like on like TV. Not started her tattoo career, but like TV started at Miami Ink. Anyway, and I thought that was like super dope. When I was a kid, I went with my dad to get like one of his tattoos covered, which is like the only tattoo he had. It was a memorial tattoo that he got in a trailer by some dude. He had a friend die in a bike accident, so a bunch of them got it in memory of Porky, which I guess was the guy's like nickname. Whatever. Anyway, so ever since that, I was like, yo, this is like what I want to look like when I get older. So when I was about 19, I got my first tattoo. It was whatever. It was just like a simple tattoo right on my forearm, which is where a lot of people get their first tattoos. Um, so yeah, that was pretty normal. And then I started going back and forth between my two arms. I wasn't focusing on one. I was doing like half sleeves basically on both. And then I finally decided to like focus on one, then focus on the other, blah, 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 whatever. Not the point. Point is, nobody ever told me how much attention they bring, um, especially when you work in the public. So I'm a bartender. I have been basically since I was 21 years old. I'll be 27 in March. So I've been a bartender almost 6 years now. I love it. I love my job, but the thing is it's like ruined me as a human. I don't regret my tattoos at all. I don't regret getting them. I regret not mentally preparing myself for the amount of attention they bring. Um, Negative or positive doesn't matter. I just like never in my wildest dreams figured, especially in a small town, that I would get the attention that I get. It's a lot of negative attention. The further I go out from where I live, the less negative it gets, to be completely honest with you. Um, I've never really had that issue where like people tell these stories like, oh, I'm walking down the street and an old lady clutches her handbag. I don't have that problem. That's not a problem I've ever really experienced. I get a lot of older women usually when they see me either mutter under their breath, which that's fine. It doesn't I don't really care. I understand it's not something that you grew up around. It wasn't a big thing when you were in your 20s. I'm gonna adjust this camera for a second. Okay, cool. So it wasn't like a big thing, when they were in their 20s, and like that's fine. But I get a lot of older women that really like it or really curious about it, or they just like don't even notice it, and that's fine. But honestly, I get a lot more questions from people like my age and like mid to early 40s, I'd say. I would honestly say, people from like mid 30s to like late 40s are the ones that like usually are like, why did you do that to yourself? And like all that other shit. And I don't really care. Um, I just care when you approach it disrespectfully, especially when I'm working. Like I don't need you sitting there calling me a freak because I've had people do that. Yeah, I think I'm like kind of a freak. I like look at my earlobes. That's not normal. Those are huge. And it's great. I love it. It makes me so happy. My earlobes are one of my favorite things about myself. But I just think there's a respectful and disrespectful way to approach, the way that you ask heavily tattooed people the questions you ask them, or make the comments that you make toward them. If you're like walking down the street and you're like, hey, nice tattoos, like that's fine. If you're in a gas station, you say the same shit, whatever. But my issue lies like when the person's at work and your main concern, instead of telling me your order or what you want to drink, is the tattoos I have on my face, or stopping me when I'm busy, and you want to ask me why I did this to myself. Wait till I'm not busy and then ask me. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. My 73-year-old grandmother goes with me to tattoo appointments. She loves my one tattoo artist. She thinks that they are like this, like they're besties, and that's great. She doesn't have any tattoos. Her husband has a tattoo of another woman's name on his arm, but that's a whole other story, and I don't know how it doesn't bother her, but whatever. But no, just the amount of tension it brings. I was in a place yesterday, and I was getting a milkshake, and there was like this group of people, and I went and stood in the corner, my friend and I did, and this group of people went to the other end of the shop, and sat at a table there. They got up from the table they were at and went to the other end of the shop. And again, that's cool. Like, you're not gonna agree with it. I'm not gonna think you're a shit person for like thinking whatever you think about me. That's just not my thing. I just, mentally, like I said, I never prepared for that. Never prepared for it. I don't know, but like I said, I have a lot of older women who are very, very nice about the entire thing. It's sweet when people tell me that I inspire them to want to get, more heavily tattooed. There's like a pro and a con to that, and I think a lot of people move too fast. I don't necessarily think I move too fast with it, only because I have stuck with the same line of work for years. I've had a steady job for years. I don't know. I didn't jump straight to like my throat or my face or my chest or anything. I started getting them on my arms, and I didn't start getting them on my hands till probably about 5.5 years ago. Is when I got the first like small one on my hand, which is actually covered now, and I didn't cover it because I hated it. I covered it just because I wanted something else. I don't see anything wrong if, people want to get cover-ups, if people regret some of their tattoos. I get that. I've seen multiple, like, YouTubers and people in the industry that are like, I regret a lot of my tattoos. I wonder what I would look like without them. My only thing is, not based on them, but based on me. I could not see myself looking any other way, because I look back at pictures and it just is uncomfortable for me. I don't like it. I try not to, bring up pictures of me from like high school, middle school, right out of high school, any of that, just because I don't like the appearance that I have. And I understand I'm gonna get old, my skin's gonna sag, and I'm gonna look like a ball of shit. But I had fun when I had fun, and I looked the way I wanted to look when I was however old I am now, 26. And that's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that have gotten tattoos because of, mental health purposes. I have my back piece is completely like devoted to, like my mental health story. Like, I've had a really hard battle with it for a very long time, and I still struggle with it. But my tattoos don't add to that struggle. If anything, they've kind of been an outlet. I didn't get them to distract from like the mental pain I have. I got them to, I guess, help myself mentally. I don't rely on them, but I do enjoy them. I do, enjoy some of the stories that some of them tell. And I did a tattoo tour as my last video. I didn't show all my tattoos because I'm like kind of like ADHD, and I also get anxiety, and I irritate myself. So like, I just feel like I irritate other people when I'm trying to like explain things. So I mean, my whole back piece is about like being trapped inside yourself and not knowing how to get out, not feeling comfortable, not knowing like what to do next. And that's basically like, I've been in a spot like that for a very, very long time. like I said, a lot of people do turn to tattoos as like an outlet for that. Basically because they're like, I like the pain, and this means this to me, and that's fine. I've never gotten a tattoo because I like the pain, so I actually can't relate to that. To each their own. But it's just always something that, like, it's a way I wanted to look as a child, and like I said, nobody ever warned me, because I didn't have a heavily tattooed, like, figure, like, around me, like, growing up. Like, clear until I was in, like, my early 20s is when I started to meet, like, heavily tattooed people. Like, I started going to conventions. I started, like, talking to them, like, on, like, Instagram and stuff like that. I started really following the culture more. I started really, like, getting into it more. And the more I got into it, the more I loved it, and that's why I get what I get. That's the culture I wanted to be a part of. That's, like, the world that, like, I grew up, like, watching, and I just envied it. I'm like, wow, like, these people they're just so artistic, like, and that's another thing, you have the tattoo artists that express themselves, through their art that they put on other people or that they get on themselves. A lot of artists, like, sell prints and stuff. I have some that I have framed, and that's just how they express themselves. So, like, there's, like, a wide range of things to do in this industry, and I'm just a collector of the art, but I am so happy about it. I really am. The mental toll it does take on you, though, is that you get annoyed. I'm not gonna lie, you get annoyed. And I just wish I wasn't so annoyed all the time. Like, I don't know, it attracts a lot of attention. And, like, even when you, like, date someone, I've dated a couple of people who they just, weren't into it the way that I was. They don't look the way that I look. They look very, bare, very normal. And this appearance attracts a lot of attention. Like I said, negative or positive doesn't matter, but your partner isn't always prepared for that, and they're gonna get annoyed, and you're gonna get annoyed, and it's gonna be an issue. And it's not always gonna be an issue, but for, a couple of times in my life it has been, an issue. And that's just another thing you're going to have to think about if you choose the path that is this. But I just want people to think before they act. I want you to be like, okay, am I prepared, for all of these questions every single day for the rest of my life? And I know people think, well, there's laser tattoo removal. Well, it's not as easy as you think it is. That shit's expensive. That shit takes how many sessions over how many years, and you're still gonna get the questions. People are gonna ask, why did you do that? Why'd you get it in the first place? Why are you getting it removed? Like, I make this video to, like, prepare others to, like, prepare yourself. Because I didn't, and I try every single day. I get up and I'm like, okay, I already know, like, basically, like, the 4 or 5 basic questions I'm gonna get all day today. And most of the time I answer them no problem. Other times I give answers and people don't like the answer, so I just, like, don't really know what else to say. And, like, it just puts you in a weird place sometimes. But yeah. Basically, like, that's, like, the whole point of the video. Just, like, mentally prepare yourself for, talking when you don't want to talk, be answering questions you don't always want to answer. I mean, unless you're rude about it, and then you just walk away. I mean, you get to a point where you become numb to a lot of it. Not really the annoyance of it, but, like, the type of questions, the attitude behind the questions, the positive or negative connotations of the questions, it just, it eventually just mellows out, and you're just like, okay, here it goes again. Basically, you have a script at that point. You've answered the question so many times that, like, you don't even have to think about it. It's just like, why'd you get this? Oh, well, this is why I got it. How long did it take you to get this? Well, this is how long it took. What was the pain level of this? This is the pain level of that. How many do you have? That one I've never been able to answer because I'm not sure. That one is honestly probably the one that annoys me the most. How many tattoos do you think you have? Well, I don't know, and I'm not gonna count, because that's just, like, a lot of effort I'm just not willing to put in to something that I don't care that much about. So yeah, if you want to be in this industry, be in the industry, whether it be as an artist, a collector, anything. But be mentally prepared for the questions and attention that it brings. Because I wasn't. And I don't regret it. I just now have to breathe a little bit more each day and calm my nerves because I have so much anxiety. And I think that's what bothers me the most, is my amount of anxiety and times I want to be left alone. And I just am not always left alone. But yeah. I hope everybody had a great Christmas, and let me know if you want to see a video about like pain tolerance of tattoos, because I can definitely make that my next one, if anybody even sees this one. So yay, go me!